Tired of being the lame friend in your friend group? Well, not to worry, kiddo, because today I'm revealing 11 of my favorite niche hobbies for you to try out that will instantly put you at the top of the pyramid in your friend group hierarchy. And by top of the pyramid, I of course mean that you'll have something to obnoxiously yammer on about while your friends wonder who invited your dumbass. Ikebana is the art of arranging stems, leaves, and flowers in vases and other containers that evolved in Japan over 7 centuries. And I'm gonna be completely honest, Ikebana puts our shitty Western bouquet arrangements to shame. Don't get me wrong, I love a good bouquet. I love a good floral arrangement, but I mean, come on. Look at this. Like guys, I don't think I've seen something more gorgeous in my entire life. Now you may be asking, making that can't be that complicated, right? It's just putting a couple of flowers and leaves in a bowl. Wow. You're really gonna reduce over 7 centuries of Japanese cultural heritage into putting flowers into a bowl? Good job offending every single person in Japan and their ancestors going back 35 generations. Are you happy with yourself? Because I expected better from you. But if you at any point thought that the process of making these arrangements is simple, you couldn't be more wrong. There are countless schools and branches of Ikebana dating back to the 13th century, each with their distinctive philosophies about nature, line, mass, form, space, color, and language. Practitioners study Ikebana for decades, and rightfully so. Their creations are some of the most beautiful things that I've ever laid my eyes on. And honestly, I'm so stunned every time. I can only dream of getting to that level. Semi-relatedly, you can also try studying bonsai, but low-key, that's one hobby that still scares me a little bit. Like, if I ever killed one of my trees that I'd been working on for a long time, that shit would haunt me for the rest of my life and my next 10 reincarnations down the line. Bonus points for trying out Ikebana, and then once you've gotten good at it, becoming the most obnoxious snob possible about it so that everyone knows that you're an expert. Like every time you see a floral arrangement just being like, ugh, the lines and forms are a bit off. Really? Isosceles triangle? I mean, like, how basic are you trying to be? Seriously? Green and orange? Try again. Try again. Now you may be asking, Kobe, where am I supposed to learn this? Do you expect me to travel to Japan to find an Ikebana master to teach me or something? Not to worry, little one. I will answer your question, and it's not the typical you can learn anything online nowadays or the just search up a tutorial on TikTok nonsense that everyone seems to be saying. Don't get me wrong, YouTube and TikTok are fantastic resources for learning. But after I finish yip-yapping about my favorite niche hobbies, I'll tell you about a secret third place where you can go to learn all of these hobbies that will make it much more fun and enjoyable than simply learning on TikTok. And trust me, you're not gonna wanna miss out. Alright guys, the second niche hobby that y'all can try out is woodworking. There's a couple of reasons why I included this on my list. Recently, I moved into a new apartment and I had to furnish it from scratch. But finding furniture for your home is simultaneously a fun and exciting adventure and an absolute nightmare. First of all, if you care about the way that your home looks at all, finding furniture to match your aesthetic, your vision is nearly impossible. Not only that, half of the furniture out there selling nowadays at your conventional furniture store like IKEA or Wayfair is garbage quality, made of materials like cheap plastic, MDF, and particle board. It's meant to look good at the store and then break down immediately as you're loading it into your car to take back home. The other half of the furniture out there is outrageously expensive and also garbage quality. They just don't make it like they used to. So that brings me to woodworking. Woodworking may seem like a daunting hobby at first because it's associated with being rugged and intimidating and getting your hands dirty or whatever nonsense. And the fact that many people who partake in this hobby have large workshop spaces where they house all of their fancy and expensive tools and wood. But really, I believe that it doesn't have to be like that at all. I think that anyone can do woodworking, even folks living in small apartment spaces like mine. Sure, it might be harder than if you had a whole workshop to yourself, but heck, I've built plenty of things in this tiny apartment of mine, And I only used hand tools. No table saws, no miters, no nail guns. Heck, I haven't even used screws. I will say it can get a little messy if you're in a small space, especially when you get to the sandpaper. But the whole process for me is really relaxing and cathartic. Sawing a piece of wood in half is like having my very own rage room right here in my apartment. And the overall process of woodworking is tactile, it's soothing, it's exhausting, but in a good way. Plus, creating something in the real world with your own two bare hands that you own hits different. Nowadays, we don't really own things in the same way that we used to. All of our movies are on Netflix, our books are on Kindle, our music is on Spotify, and all of that is behind a subscription fee of $20 a month, which they can take away from you at any time. Not to be too philosophical here, but woodworking lets you take that power back. That piece that you made is yours. It belongs to you. You built it with your bare hands. I will say that if you're looking to furnish your home in particular, a bonus hobby you could try out is looking for deals on Facebook Marketplace. Marketplace is a great way to get decent quality secondhand items for relatively cheap, and it's a great way to furnish a home on a budget. In fact, about 3/4 of the stuff in my apartment right now I found for like $20 on Facebook Marketplace. The rest I built myself. The only problem is that it tends to take a little while to find the right pieces of furniture for your place. For example, I still don't have any chairs for my dining room table, and it's been 5 months. But yes, I absolutely love woodworking. So if you want to pretend to be rugged and gritty and intimidating to impress your friends, I definitely give it a try. I will not talk about this one. My friend got me a pottery kit for Christmas, and I'm too scared to actually use it because I'm quite certain that getting into pottery will be like a gateway drug for me. Like, as soon as my fingers touch the clay, I'll pass out and wake up 3 days later with 50 pounds of clay in my apartment, a pottery wheel, and mud strewn across all of my walls. So yeah, for my own good, I'll just let you know that you can get clay cheaply and a pottery wheel for like $100 on Amazon. Then you can search up local pottery studios that will fire your pieces in a kiln for a small fee. Okay. I'm gonna stop talking about this now. I already feel that I'm disappointed. Now, when I say gardening, I don't mean just getting the easiest, most low maintenance houseplants possible and then just ignoring them for half the year. That's a cop-out. Plus, that's what all the tech goons are doing to make themselves seem just a little bit more human and less like lizard people. You don't want that now, do you? No. When I say gardening as a hobby, my philosophy is pick one plant or type of plant that interests you and go all out. Like orchids? Collect a billion different kinds of rare orchids. Like cooking? Try growing a bunch of different fruits, vegetables, and herbs for you to use in your meals. Like succulents? Then get the hell away from me, freak. I will not elaborate. But the point still stands. Get 10 billion types of different succulents and put them as far away from me as humanly possible. I don't even want to look at a succulent. Cactuses are chill though. You can go even further. If you really like tomatoes in particular, when they're in season in the summer, just grow a shit ton of different types of tomatoes. And when they're out of season, do everything humanly possible to set yourself up for growing the most juicy, most succulent tomato that the world has ever seen. But Kobe, I live in an apartment. What do I do? Move out. Just kidding. But when you're looking for an apartment, try to get one that gets a lot of natural sunlight, has some sort of outdoor space, and has a south-facing window if possible. If all that fails, you can get grow lights for cheap. I know it's hard when you don't have a lot of space, so another thing that you can try is community gardens. I'm not sure what it's like in other areas, but in LA at least, there are a bunch of community gardens where each person gets their own small plot of land, probably a couple feet by a couple feet, and you can just grow whatever you want there. It's honestly super sick and so cool to see what other people are growing and make friends and share your crops with each other so that y'all can get the best of both worlds. Community gardens are so sick. So if you have one nearby, I definitely recommend you check it out. You ever heard of the saying, enjoy the fruits of your labor? If you garden, you can actually experience the literal fruits of your labor instead of experiencing the fruits of your 9-to-5 job. And by fruits, I of course mean getting yelled at by your boss and mild depression. Next on the list, we have gatekeeping. This one is pretty self-explanatory. Whenever you find something that's cool and exciting, you just hype it up for all of your friends and family, and then rather than revealing what it is, you instead start being super vague about it. You know, like, oh, I can't show you, it's low key, it's underground, and I don't really want you to leak it to the entire world. Or, oh, I don't know if you're ready for it yet. Sorry guys, I was gonna tell y'all about this niche hobby because it's literally the sickest, the most exhilarating, most mind-blowing thing that I've ever done in my entire life. But unfortunately, I am unable to share this hobby with you for reasons that I cannot legally disclose at this time. So. Jewelry making, and I don't mean making phone charms, wire rings, and candy. That's fun and all, but it's not niche enough, you know? Making phone charms and cute bracelets won't establish your dominance and show to all of your friends that you are the cool one in the group. You know what I mean? You know what will though? Working with silver, like sterling silver. Now that is cool. You know how people always give you compliments on your jewelry? Now, instead of saying, thanks, I got it on Amazon, you can say, thanks, I made it myself. Boom! Power move. For that moment, you are automatically the coolest person in the room. And if you do it correctly, there should be warning sirens going off in all of your friends' heads like, oh shit, I'm getting moved down a peg in the friend group hierarchy. Walking bucks. Okay, walking itself is not niche. Everybody walks. Well, except for me, because I don't really leave my mom's basement, but walking as a hobby is low-key so sick. Think about it. When people ask you, what do you do for fun? Oh, I just walk. Aura. But joking aside, just going for walks is low-key really fun. You never really think about it as something to do, much less a hobby, but trust me, give it a try. It's refreshing, it's relaxing, it's good for your body and your mind. If you're creative, it gets your creative juices flowing. If you work a 9-to-5 office job, it staves off the depression. And it's much more sustainable than running as a hobby. Running takes commitment. You gotta change your clothes, spend an hour running, which, to be honest, might just be the most boring, most mind-numbing thing on the entire planet. And then when you get back home, you're all sweaty and disgusting. Walking, you just stand up, go, come back 30 minutes later, feeling refreshed. At risk of sounding like a grandpa, taking a walk outside a couple of times a week is just a great grounding exercise that keeps your body and mind healthy. And I know that it sounds stupid, like, oh yeah, like I always walk around, you know, everywhere I go, but actually like deliberately just walking for a hobby, just like 30 minutes a week, is super, super fun and super, super nice. You should try it. If this were 4 years ago, I would have recommended making matcha as a chill and peaceful way to be present with yourself. But these days, it feels like everybody and their mothers are somehow matcha aficionados all of a sudden, which has blown a cannonball into the Japanese matcha industry. So either way, instead of matcha, I'm recommending that you try getting into espresso and latte art. Bonus points if you absolutely despise the taste of coffee and are just doing it to be cool. Just like how professional tattoo artists without tattoos are just so fucking sick. While you're learning the ropes, this is also an exercise of your imagination because your art is gonna be complete shit. But as long as you have an imagination and some conviction, your amorphous white blob becomes a masterpiece. Take a look at some of my first attempts at latte art. Lone Christmas tree with wax and gibbous, dragonfly spitting fire, skull profile facing both ways, Andromeda galaxy, Brussels sprout cross section, garlic, kidney bean. Yeah, as you can tell, vegetables are my specialty. Nobody makes a better garlic latte art than me. Oh my god. I will say this hobby can have a high startup cost if you're an absolute snob. But if you don't care, then you can get away with a shitty $20 machine off of Facebook Marketplace, a hand frother, and a microwave. Although I would really recommend getting an actual steam one of some sort. The only downside is you're gonna be drinking a shit ton more coffee than, frankly, is healthy for you. When I was learning how to pour latte art, I was drinking like 5 cups of these bad boys every day, which might have had permanent consequences on my body. But we'll see. The next niche hobby you can try is cooking things like my favorite foods like gum or fajitas, and then you can just go ahead and bring them directly over to me. Yeah, cooking things isn't really niche, and it's also not really a hobby, but at least I would appreciate it. Please, for the love of God, read some fiction, bro. No more of this self-help guru pseudo nonfiction nonsense. Those books have their time and place, by which I mean in the trash can immediately. Just kidding, kinda. If you want to read nonfiction, then more power to you. But please, for the love of God, sprinkle in some fiction here and there. If you can join an in-person book club, even better. If you need Rex, I'll start you out with some of my favorites. 100 Years of Solitude, Dune, Dumb Luck, Don Quixote, and Beloved by Toni Morrison. There, that should last you forever. Because let's be real, you and I both know that you're not gonna start reading this year. But really, that shouldn't even matter to you because reading isn't the important part. The important part is carrying around a book everywhere so that you can pretend to read your book and look like someone who reads. That's what matters. Where do I learn these things? I'm gonna make a controversial take, go against the grain, and say, don't use TikTok or YouTube. Everyone out there is gonna tell you there's so much information out there online, on YouTube and TikTok, you can learn pretty much anything. And while what they say is true, I think that there is some not insignificant value that you lose by doing this. By learning everything online, you lose the community aspect of learning things and growing together with your peers. Think about school. Sure, it was boring and difficult at times, and sure, maybe you didn't retain any of the information because you slept every day in physics class, but what was the best part of school? That's right, it was driving to Whataburger every second period and arriving back just in time for third period where your food coma would hit and you'd pass out. Oh, I mean, hanging out with your friends. By deliberately choosing to learn everything on TikTok and YouTube, sure, you save a little bit of time and effort, but you also lose out on your community. It'd be like having to do all the same studying, take all the same quizzes and tests, write all the same essays and papers like you do for school, except without any of your friends there to experience the journey with you along the way. So here's my tip. Go to your local community college or something, or search up workshops or classes around your area. Typically, classes held at small studios will be a lot more expensive, so if you're on a budget, enrolling in a course at your local community college is a fun and effective way to learn a new hobby or skill. Now, if you don't have the time in your life to go in person, like if you're working long days to afford rent and to put food on the table, I completely understand. It's hard. I feel you. By all means, use the resources available to you, the info and tutorials on YouTube, to help you engage sustainably with a hobby that you enjoy. But if you're someone who's looking for a hobby because you need something to do with your time that isn't rot on TikTok for 6 hours a day, then I would strongly encourage you to try going to your local community centers or community college to engage in your hobby. Not only will you learn faster because you'll have in-person feedback and a real-life support system of people that want to see you succeed, it'll also be way more fun and exciting because you have a community of friends around you that you can talk to and banter with and have friendly competitions with together. Please don't let being passionate about your hobby be another excuse to lose yourself in the isolation of your room or your home. It was revolutionary when I learned that no matter what hobby you do, whether it be reading or woodworking or ikebana, You can use it to find friends, meet new people, and build a robust social circle around yourself where everyone cares about getting better at their craft and uplifts each other so that you can all improve together as a community. Find your community and you'll be set for life. Okay, let me know in the comments if I missed any of your favorite hobbies, subscribe, and see you next time.